In this video, I'll be going over multiple UV sets, using tiling textures with multiple UV sets, creating AO/alpha clusters, along with using the layered texture inside Maya. The techniques I'm showing you, I typically use. A lot of game engines support this also. This tutorial was also originally created for my Senior Project Planning class. As a reminder to my Senior Project Planning class, Unity only supports 2 different UV sets. But if you decide to use different engines, they also support a little bit more. So to start off with, I'll do 3 different UV sets just so you have an idea of how they might look like and how you might be able to use it. But remember, for the class, you guys only have 2 UV sets you guys can use for Unity engine. Alright, let's start off. Here goes my brick wall. I have 1 UV set currently. If I look down our UV sets, only 1 right here. And this right here is my stacked UVs. Everything's we're laying on top of each other. It's cut in half. That way things are on top. If you look at this, it looks kind of weird because it's all fitting in square. That's because I plan to save out a 2x1 map. Alright, so let's create another one. I'm going to create one for the AO map. This way they can stay dark down here and not affect the top, and they'll stay light on top. Create empty UV set right there, and I'm going to call this AO. Apply. I want to make another one called Tile. That'll be created for anything I want to make for tiling textures. So if I look here, AO Tile. I'm going to save this again. I decided to use Maya 2011 because 2012 was just crashing on me too much, and I just didn't want to waste my time re-recording this again. Alright, I'm going to choose my AO set real quick. I'm going to create UVs, automatic mapping. I'm just going to click on the specific edges I want things to be sewn. So move and sew. And in object mode, I'm just going to click on unfold UVs. I'm going to polygons, layout, click world, apply, and this is all laid out now. I want to maximize my UV space though, so I'm going to scale this out a bit more. This way I get the most amount of resolution I can for the AO map. That should be fine for AO. If you guys cannot stand this on the side, you can always rotate it and refit everything again. It looks like that fits generally. Check my shell. What's on top? Alright, cool. This is all facing the right direction. Okay, so this one will be for the AO. The reason why I have them separate is because if I look back at my original one that's stacked, my goal is to have the little cement section down here, the brick wall in this area, another cement section on the top. The bottom's going to use the same cement texture as the one I'm using in the wall right here, so that way we can just keep on reusing the tileable textures. And the brick will also be a tileable texture. That way I can keep reusing that on buildings or other brick walls if I decide to do that. I don't see a point of making a bunch of unique textures. I'd rather have a few tileable textures and a bunch of other maps just differentiating them. That way you can get a lot more resolution, or more like a lot more detail inside your textures that are just lower res in general. So if I go here, I'm going to go to tile. I'm going to create a tileable set this time, and I guess I'm going to just copy UVs. I want to copy my UV sets from AO to tile. Copy UV sets to tile. That way my tile also has the same set. I go here, the same exact UV set. The reason why this is useful is because now I know for sure they're all the same size, but I just need to make sure everything tiles properly. So I'm going to shell. I'm going to move this down here too. I'm just going to snap all of this. Yes, I'm making them stack. This time is going to be a bit different because I want to make sure everything tiles properly. So with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this whole thing up. until this entire thing takes up the entire square. A little bit too large. Let's tone it down a bit. Now if I tile a texture, it'll tile all across, have no stretching anywhere. Should tile over here too, and tile across all around. So whatever texture I put in here, I want it tiled, it should all work perfectly fine now. This is a little trick. So now I have AO, map, etc. You can have these all overlaying each other if you want to, but I don't see a point of redoing all that. It'll work as it should already. So with that, again, I'm going to delete all of my type history and save. Okay. So if I look over here, you'll see I have several textures already made. Here's a brick that I want to use to tile. Here's a cement texture I'll be using to tile across. I just want to be able to reuse these over and over again because I don't see a point of making a bunch of unique textures. I'm going to go and take these objects and bake AO, so I'll pause this for now. Okay, so I finished baking out my AO. As you can see, they're currently loaded. I'm going to just turn off my grid so it doesn't get in the way anymore. Just like I said, it's darker down here than it is on top, and it's darker around this little area. I just want to be able to tile my textures around this area and overlay the AO on top of it. Then I want to create a cluster that contains all these little files I have inside. If you want to be able to bake out the AO specifically for the UV set, the trick is you go here under lighting and shading, make sure you're under rendering, lighting, shading, batch bake Mental Ray, and that when you scroll down to the bottom, use the override mesh UV set assignments and assign it to the UV set you wish to assign it to. I had named mine AO, so I just tap AO, you click convert, and it'll bake out your AO for you. For this, I already have it baked out. So let's just use a very basic set first. Let's make this whole thing brick first, and make this down here all cement, and let's tile that, just so you guys have an idea of how to link up all those first. So I want to clear up everything, make it a little bit simpler to see. I'm going to create a two blends. I'm going to call this one brick wall. Another blend for the floor. I'll call this floor. And assign them to the appropriate object. Go delete unused nodes. Cleans up everything else that I don't need. And what I want to do is create a layered texture. So if I scroll down here, you'll find layered texture. It should be at the bottom. There. I'm going to create two of them. So make sure you rename all your nodes. I'll call this brick layered texture. Text. That'll work fine. Call this floor layered text. I'm going to connect them to the appropriate piece. Turn on textured mode and go to my high quality rendering. Right now they're just bright green, you can't really see much out of it. Textures currently only don't have anything, so I'm going to go to 2D textures, create a file node. This one I'm going to load up a texture file. Go here, go to my folder, textures, brick, create another one. Let's get my cement and my AOs. So here's brick wall AO and another one for my plane. And this will be the plane AO. Unplug them all accordingly. So I'm going to maximize this so you can really see what's going on. My brick wall, I have that up here along with my wall AO. Have these toward the bottom here. When I click on each of these, you'll see there's already one that's pre-made. I'm just going to middle mouse drag and drop these inside. And do the same with this. Get rid of the green one I don't need. Come on. There. This cleans it up a bit. I'm renaming these up too, so I'm going to call this cement color file. I'll call this floor AO file. This will be called brick color file. Call this wall AO file. So when I'm in here, I know which one I'm dealing with. It kind of tells you. I want my AO to be on top, so I'm going to take this middle mouse, move it to the top, and same with this piece right here. AO on the top. Alright, so obviously my AO right here is not linked to the right UV set. The bottom one is nothing's really showing, so I'm going to go to my bottom one and get this one fixed first. So click my bottom for my floor. I'm going to change my blend mode to multiply, and now we have an AO that's multiplied on top of the cement, which allows me to tile my cement how many times I want. So I want to do a 5 by 5. I have that along with my AO on top. Let's get this to work now though. Have my object selected. I go to Window, Relationship Editors, UV Linking, Texture Centric. You should get a little pop-up like so, and you can assign whichever one you want. So I'm going to take the brick color file and I want to link that to tile. I want my wall AO to link to my AO. Just like that, you see it update. I'm going to go in here now and change this also to multiply. And there goes my brick. It's tiled everywhere. And I can tile it more or less. It's entirely up to me. So if I go in here, like, oh, I like the bricks to be larger, I can tile it less, and the AO is still there the entire time. This allows you to just put the AO on top. If I zoom in, you can really see, or kind of see how it affects the whole piece. It's pretty cool. What is this whole AO cluster, alpha cluster I was talking about earlier? Essentially, when you look at any of these maps here, they're grayscaled. So technically they should only use up 8 bits in your color channel instead of all 32-bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those AO maps into Photoshop and create some of that, create some alphas too, just so you have a little bit more interesting looking map here. So I have Photoshop open already. There's one of my AOs. I'm going to open the other one too. So there is wall AO. Drag it to the top here. I'm just going to take this, copy it, go inside. If I open my layers, now some channels, R, G, and B are all exactly the same. I feel I'm wasting a lot of memory here if I just simply go in here and just paste it. I'll have myself a different AO and a different channel. Yes, my image looks a bit odd, but I'm fine with that. The next thing I want to do is I want to go back over here, have this selected, go back into my UV texture editor, and if I go back to my UV set 1 with all the stacks, I can go to Polygons, UV Snapshot, turn off Keep Aspect Ratio, and change my map so it's wider versus entire thing. So if I just do this as 512 by 256 and tell it to go to a specific location, I'll go down here and I'll put this in my source images. I'll call this brick wall UVs. Make that a target. Okay. If I go inside Photoshop now, and I open that, you'll see it's wider versus taller, allowing me to have a lot more texture density to work with here. On this map, I want to just create an alpha to control where I want certain details to be. So here's my alpha here. If I just select down this little area, just make that completely white. So now I have that. I'm going to just make that new layer. Make that completely white. Do an image. Let me check this real quick. Oh, I should have just made it square just for the sake of the alpha. It'll be easier that way. Let me go back here. UV texture editor. Because I'm just going to use this mainly for the alpha at this current point. I just need this exact section. I'm going to take another one at 512 by 512. You'll see what I'm going to do next. It's pretty neat. So 512 by 512. Let's have another one. I'll call this for the alpha. And we should memorize where I baked it out last time. Source images, I'll call this alpha. Okay, so back in here, file open. Source images, I have alpha also. Allows me to select this little area here. Fill this. Make that completely black. Control A. Copy that. And go back in here. And for my B, I'm going to put an alpha channel inside. The whole point of this is so I can reveal certain textures under other areas based on just using what I have right here. So I'm going to save this whole thing out. It looks kind of weird, but this is basically has two AOs and an alpha inside. If I wanted to, I can put another alpha by adding another channel here, but I don't see a point right now. So I'm going to save this out. And I call this AO alpha cluster. And I'll call this brick wall, so I know what it goes for. I'm not using the alpha channel, so I'll just use 24 bits. I'm back in here now. Let's create something a little bit more complex than what we have currently. This might get a bit confusing, but let's try to not be too confused, I suppose. So being that I can use the floor and reuse this over and over and over again, I'll break that link here. This right here has a little map it wants to connect to, so if I go inside, out color R, right click in here, I'm going to go to other. It's not showing up, of course. Oh, there it goes. Inputs. Color RGB. Let's hope that's the correct one. I think it should be 3. And I'm going to take the out color of R. RGB. And there, I've just gotten my AO back. It's all because in here, it's already in grayscale. I can just reuse that same map. So now I can go in here and remove this whole file node. I don't even need this anymore. Move this in between. So you just have an idea. I'm going to kill both of these off. Let's reconnect this so we have a map inside. And I'm going to link this with this piece too. So I'm going to go over there, go to other, out color, G this time inside my inputs, in color RGB. With this, now I have to go through and redo the whole relationship editors, UV linking, texture centric, and say floor AO file links to AO. It's having trouble reading this. Up here is already updated, so I'll probably have to toggle back and forth and have this update. It's a video card issue right now. If I go and render, you'll see it looks perfectly fine. Let's try relinking them. That could help. It's always kind of annoying because the viewport never shows perfectly sometimes, so you just gotta try to deal with it. As you can see, even in our render, if we look in our texture here, it looks proper. It's just the viewport's just freaking out for now. So, what about the alpha? What's the whole point of that one? That is so I can put this cement and reuse that on top of this little section here. So I also want to put my cement in this map. I'm going to put the cement in. Let's put this right on top of the brick. And I want to give it an alpha. Currently there's an alpha in here. I can give this, do an over. And I'm going to do the actually I'm going to middle mouse drag and drop on top of here, other. I just want to grab the B inputs, should be for 2, and the alpha. Let's see if this works. Close that and see what happens when I render. Oh yes, I also have not assigned it to the proper location yet, so let's go in there. Right now it's linked. It's not working right now, so what I forgot is because I already linked this to the AO one, it won't be using the correct alpha, so technically I should have that separate. So I'm going to reuse this file again. File, and I'm going to go ahead and break the connection between the two. So this file here is also going to have the exact same image. In fact, that'll be, I think I put that all in plain floor AO. File should be in plain target. Yep, there it is. Let's go in here, other, and outcolor B inputs should be for file 2 alpha. You can overwrite that. The problem about it is this one right here was linked to the AO one, and I want this to be linked up to the original stacked. That way things work a little bit better. So this, I'm setting this to multiply. This has an over with an alpha, so you can see that I have the brick on, I have the cement on top and bottom here, and if I just render this, you see how it looks like currently. I want the cement, if I go in my relationship editors again, texture centric, I want the cement color file to go to the tile. That way it tiles the way I want. I have the cement on top, cement on bottom, I have the brick walls, I have my floor, and yeah, that way you get some pretty cool looking effects. Only problem right now is just having trouble deciphering which one, because I'm just using one channel, sampling it 3 times. If I go in here, you can see what's actually going on. It's a really neat trick. You can do this with normal maps also. It's not just reserved purely for color maps. For this case, I just did for color maps right now. If I wanted to, I can go in, create another layer texture. So let's look for it. Where are you? There's no layer texture. And I'll call this the brick normal layered text. I'm going to plug this into my bump map, so let's do that. Bump 2D, make sure this is set to 10 to space normals. Now it wants to see some files. It's kind of freaking out because it's just pure green, which is a bit odd, so I'm going to move all these up. Come on, there they go. Move these out of the way. As you can see, it gets a little bit more complex as we go on. So I'm going to do another file node. This one is going to be the bricks, normal. I want to make sure they use the same place 2D texture. So what I'm going to do is delete this piece. Oops. So that UV chooser back there, I don't want to get rid of that. I want the UV chooser to go link these together, default. That way, they both are linked to the exact same UV set. And I also want to create another file node for the cement. Go in here, cement normals, and I'm going to use the same exact place 2D texture for that one too, default, delete that. That way, these files are being controlled by the exact same UV sets. And in here, I'm going to link the two. That goes in. This also goes in there, so let's break that back. There it goes. Move this one in front. Get rid of this. I want to save the scene in case it crashes. And I'm going to grab the alpha again from this piece. So middle mouse drag and drop this on top of the new layered. Other. Take my out color, B, into my input 1, alpha. That way, the brick normal is in the right location and the cement normal is in the right location. So when I render this, you have the brick normal where it's supposed to be and the cement normal where that's supposed to be at. Set the floor. Looks like it's super reflective right now, so I'm turning off reflectivity for both of these. I don't want reflectivity on. That's just bad. And I can do the same with the floor. I'm going to take this, drop it inside the bump map, tangent space, and now I have the floor has normal maps now too. The same can also be applied again for spec map and etc. So if you look at this, it gives you an idea of what you can do. Yes, the actual viewport isn't showing what I need to show, but technically you have the ambient occlusion from lower going up. It's a slightly complex system. You can do the same with the spec map or anything else, but if you look in here, they're all overlaying. If I zoom up, you can also see in here that I have a layered normal map. Make sure the one on top is set to over or else it will not work. If I do none, it will not work. You need it set to over so it can actually use the alpha inside. Okay, I hope that was useful for you. That was, I know, a bit complex. If you have any questions, feel free to post a comment and I hope I can answer it for you.